Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22. So, where we left off last time was Luke sent us a letter. Um, it had more insanity in it. And then I'm progressing through my pile of documents here, which we're no longer reading on the show. I'm just going to read you the letters he sends to me because you can find all of his filed court documents on lukewinky.online, which is the website, which we've featured on previous shows. And if you want to know what the last insane letter was, I advise you to go check the last video because I don't. They're all insane in their ramblings. So I just was catching up on court documents. This is document 115 from Valentine's Day of 2024. I recommend that what you do is that you don't read it because it's going to make you angry like me. It is the judge's order on Luke violating his probation of 3 years of supervised visits, and then he gets a psychiatric evaluation ordered against him. And in that evaluation, he's giving this guy a bunch of information, and he's also asking him, like, is he nuts? Why is he nuts? What's causing him to be nuts? Like, what is it? Is he definably nuts? Like, what is the definition of his form of crazy? And then if he is, like, can he be in the general public, or can he be in jail? Like, and to me, it's like, if you're a risk to the public because you're nuts, and you can't even be in jail because you're nuts, because like it'll be adverse outcome by you being incarcerated, then like maybe they just put you down. Like I think, like, oh well, he's rabid. We can't put rabid people in jail. It's like, well, then you shoot them. That's what we did to Yeller, the old one, old Yeller. Anyways, that pissed me off when I read that. Because like, why are you asking those kind of questions? Like, and then on March 4th, which the letter was written, it was postmarked March 2nd of 2024. He writes a letter to the judge, and he's going on about like the fact that he's never met some of these people in person, so because he's never met them, that the court has to consider them not real people unless they can come to court and then prove, and then using DNA. And it's like, well, if you can't prove that they're real people, how do you have DNA to go back on? And I'm sitting there thinking, like, oh my god, you're goddamn crazy. And then he starts talking shit about some of his victims, and he starts talking about extraterrestrials and how he wishes he entertains ideas about being sworn in to like some extraterrestrial thing by President Vermin Supreme, who was a candidate that ran on the Libertarian Party or something. Bro, I was nuts. Anyways, so I finished reading that one. That is document 116 in the court records, which can be found. So now, me and my wife, we received this letter, still unopened. It's from Albion. So it's from Luke Winky, 26 Platt Street, Albion, New York, which last time we determined whatever prison that was. New Orleans County or something. Anyways, postmarked March 7th, 2024. And as you can see, I have not even opened this one. This is almost a year old, and it's just been sitting. It's like Christmas cookies. No, it's not. So this is, look at that. He's got tore a page out of somebody's the Bible in a year. So good, it's a quick one, thank God. And it was addressed to Kevin Doherty / my wife, June Crawford. And it's funny that they're like, sometimes I'll get random, as you've all seen, like code enforcement official, Mayor Kevin Doherty, like they gives a whole bunch of them. So anyways, and then, oh yeah, in that judge's letter that I just told you I finished reading, this idiot, like, he writes the entire thing, and at the top he writes a separate, like, you actually have to read the letter, and then at the top it's like he added like a whole separate story in the header, and the story has nothing to do with what he wrote the letter about, and it jumps from page to page in like chronological order in a separate timeline. So like, it's nuts. Dear Life22, More federal deals coming. Olean's way. In. God, and he wrote about writing in cursive. Like, nobody cares that you can write in cursive. If anything, like, it makes your handwriting worse. Olean's way in no time at all. You, underlined you may be needed to appear in Donald Trump Judge John Sinatra's courtroom to sign paperwork to begin this, and that's in quotes. Oh no, to begin this, open quotes, federal grant money fixing Olean blight, close quotes, thing. We will start off with a redhead from Hamburg who has dated several Olean men before, like former Dresser Rand employee Pat Sheehy, since she was a student of Brewer's martial arts long ago. You, underlined, work for the city of Olean, and this could end up helping out Olean landlords like you, underlined. I hope this wasn't like urgent that I had to be in court, Luke, because I'm just opening it now, almost a year later, because I didn't give a shit. I had so many other things that were important going on that I actually, the extent that I give a shit is me airing your dumpster fire on YouTube's. And that is because people enjoy the dumpster fire. And that's why we do this, is because people enjoy the dumpster fire. It seems to be a big hit based on viewership. So we continue to do this. Other than that, like, I really could care less. And then, like, your nonsensory is taxing. It is. It very much is. I need one of those city-owned blighted houses, comma, running into the next word, especially one as close as possible to my own house. So we can put it in this Hamburg woman's name. Federal lawyers can help get federal grant money to fix up this house's plumbing, electric, and gas. Your, underlined, handyman business can be paid to do this needed mechanical work. I believe this would all be signed into her name with all parties of interest present in Donald Trump Judge's John Sinatra's courtroom. You're asking me to talk to the city to have them sign over a blighted house to a woman who isn't going to be present, or you're claiming she's going to be present, and that she's going to come to your court hearing to receive this house. You know that Donald Trump Judge John Sinatra's courtroom is not your, like, television show, right? It is not your Life22. It is not The Price is Right where Luke Winkie is the host. You have no control over what happens in that courtroom other than your own fate to a degree. But for the most part, most of your fate is decided in that courtroom and not by you. You don't get you're not pulling the strings in that courtroom, you nut job. But we're just gonna take an Olean house and just give it to some rando. And then let's find out why he wants to put it in rando's name. And then he's blasting it out on the internet because he knows, Dear Life22, like, he's addressing it to the channel. The letter is addressed to the channel. The envelope is addressed to me. It is mine to do what I want with, and we're airing it on Life22, and he's clearly aware of it. And now he's talking about, like, forgery. All right, this Hamburg redhead comes within 6 years of nationally based typing from home on a laptop professional experience. She is very nationally connected to large employers and other wealthy males. She also prefers having cats over her own offspring. So, as I have said to you, underlined before, she is a perfect leader for an Olean stray cat society. Is that who you're talking about? I guess I wasn't picking up on that. She can also do typing from homework for this Olean landlord community. So feel free to read this letter on your show so Olean landlords can know. Know what? There's a lot of disconnects here. We prefer she show up to Donald Trump, Judge Sinatra's God-fearing courtroom to sign paperwork of this nature rather than lie about me in court like she did September 2023 as the Hamburg police. As she did September 22. He wrote as, and I think he meant to say to the Hamburg police. She is a total and complete retarded piece of garbage if she were to say no to this offer. So you expected me to read this on the channel and then have her show up to get a free house from the city of Olean. And even if the city of Olean was willing to give somebody that you know a house for free that's blighted with this plan in mind, is Judge Sinatra down with this plan? I'm not following here. It's his courtroom, his rules, right? Like, I don't. So at the top of this letter, and like I said, the top of this letter, there is nonsense written. So public safety announcement. Steve and Peg Bergstrom's son, Ernie Bergstrom, in parentheses, my first cousin once removed, close parentheses, is a known anti-Semitic public safety threat. Winkyville is legitimately concerned about inviting to future reunions. Okay, so that was the blurb at the top of the previous one. We've made it past the end of the continuation of this paragraph on the second page, page 2, and now there's another one. Donald Trump Judge John Sinatra believes he can get the Pope at St. John's of Olean to relaunch the Italian festival if we give Donald Trump, Judge Sinatra, a speaking slot at St. John's. I doubt that is a real conversation that actually fucking happened. That did not happen. You did not have, you may have blurted something like this out in court. There is no way that you were like, Donald Trump, Judge John Sinatra, help us bring back the Italian festival to Olean, New York. And he's like, bro, I am sentencing you on cyber stalking and your violation of probation. I do not care about the Italian festival in Olean, New York. I have no care about the Italian festival. He lives in Buffalo. And then in your head, you were like, he likes it. He's going to do it. For a speaking slot, you say, there you go. And that's how it all went down. Except it was all in Luke's head for the second part of it, where he heard the judge speaking at him, and it was like, mah, 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 in his head, and he was like, he wants a speaking spot. And then he'll get the Pope. He'll get the Pope. Those Catholics will love it. He'll get the Pope. And it's like, no, he didn't say that. He's not friends with the Pope. You're not getting the Pope's ass to Olean, New York. Like, Luke isn't. The Pope could, I'm not throwing it out there, I'm not dismissing it, but the Pope could come to Olean, New York. It is not implausible. We have a basilica here. It is unlikely, but it is not implausible. But it has nothing to do with this judge in Buffalo or Luke Winky or any nonsense. So I'm glad I read the blurb at the top, because I'm having synapse misfires. It's like I'm having a stroke. Like, sometimes when I read these, I think I'm having a stroke because it doesn't make sense. And I think that there must be something wrong with me. And then I realize who the letter was written from. And then I'm like, oh my God, I remembered. He's the definition of a stroke. off on the side here before we start the next paragraph. So he puts in parentheses. Okay, so maybe we read that paragraph, and then I'm going to read this little like boop, boop, these little line here, and then he writes sideways up the page a little quote. I, Luke Marshall Winkie, give Kevin Doherty and June Crawford my written permission to speak with Frank Passifum at the Buffalo Federal Public Defender's Office about this issue and this issue only at 716-551-3341. Keep in mind, Orleans County Jail opens. There's a word there that he added to the word opens. And I want to say it should be all, but it's like opens and then, oh, is it our? There it is. Opens our mail and photocopies things. So I will always have written evidence of my claims at my disposal. I'm sure they're not going to just like, get right on it, Luke. Got you all the photocopies you want of your own crazy nonsense letters. Imagining this guy, it's going to be like Danny DeVito from Taxi, smoking a cigar, like in the booth, like, Luke, I got you, buddy. It's just fucking nonsense. So now, turning the page, in quotes, this issue, closed quotes, meaning getting an Olean bladed house for the Hamburg woman. Next paragraph. The first federal public defender in my case, Alexander Anzalone, has already since left for a higher paying job. So it looks like it will go this way for the new one, too, as my interstate order of protection is coming to a close very soon, and we branch off into more interesting things to do, federally speaking, like getting the Winkieville, New York reunion a public lands zip code through the post office, or getting my mother, Janet McCall, and Jeff Bish of the town of Olean volunteer firefighters new 1980s restaurant on Broad Street in Salamanca, and then in parentheses, approved by the New York Department of Health, close parentheses, a liquor license so DoorDash drivers can help end drunk driving in Salamanca, getting the U.S. Space Force contractually into Dresser Rand, and John Crawford using his Democrat Ukrainian bank connections to pay off my father's debts through a prosecutorial misconduct compensation check on my end. There it is. It came back. Now it's all coming back to me. The nonsense of the previous letter I read last week that he was talking about. He's getting some money. I thought, why are we paying off your dad's stuff with it? I thought in the last letter we were giving you're giving you a little bit of that money and then paying the lawyers off, and then the city of Olean was going to take all that money. I thought you wanted all that money to go to the city of Olean. And now you're being selfish and giving it to your father to pay off his debts. And you're in the same letter, you're exposing John Crawford's Democrat Ukrainian bank connections. Like, I'm surprised you didn't blow me in. I'm secretly Jewish and I have control of the space lasers. You're a lunatic, Luke. And then, Jeff Bish of the town of Olean volunteer firefighter. That's his name. It's Jeff Bish. And everyone's like, oh yeah, of the Olean, the town of Olean firefighters. And then let's talk about the restaurant without a comma in there or anything. Just so we're just one run-on sentence on Broad Street in Salamanca. And then DoorDashers are somehow going to be designated drivers. I don't know, Luke. All right. Please call Frank Passivum about that federal grant I mentioned so that you can help sign in court. Dash Luke. Well, then he had attached this. It's God's worker persevering in Jesus. So it is Friday, January 12th. It's a little notey note. Looks like from a it's Genesis. It's weird. So Genesis 39:19-23. The Lord was in Joseph as he gave him success in whatever he did. Genesis 39:23, and then God's worker. And then there's an excerpt here about in a refugee camp in the Middle East when Renza received the Bible, blah, 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 blah. I mean, at the bottom here, it says Bible in a year, Genesis 29-30, Matthew 9:1-17. Backside says Saturday, January 13th. I don't know which one you're trying to, which one you want me to read, Luke. Persevering in Jesus, consider him who endure so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Hebrews 12:3. So thank you, Luke. I'm glad we're all a little dumber for your previous one. Just basking in the dumb. Basking in the dumb, folks. So what we're going to do is, oh boy, we got 117. Oh boy. There's another one. This one got opened. This one may have been opened. All right. So the next one got opened. I don't know if I opened it and read it or my wife read it. A lot of times she likes to read them too. So, but that's Luke for this week, guys. That means I gotta read two more freaking letters to myself to try to play catch up to what kind of nonsense he sends to the judge. Oh my god. Yep. He writes 2 letters to the judge. And then he writes me a letter. So I'm going to read both of those next week before I read that other letter. And then I'll read that letter on the show that he wrote to me, and you guys will all be the dumber for it. So congratulations, guys. Welcome to the Dumpster Fire. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And write your congressman or your governor. Write your governor and make sure she's aware not to pardon Luke for any such thing. And I don't think she can pardon him because it's federal crimes that he's cyber stalking on. So please plead to Donald Trump, who's being inaugurated tomorrow, not to pardon Luke. But I mean, he's not Joe Biden, so probably won't be handing out stupid like pardons. So there we go. So looks like you're stuck in jail, Luke. Thank God for the rest of us. So we'll catch you guys next time on Life 22.